Okay, going live. Now we're live. Okay, now it's working. I just wanted to make sure. So, hello everyone, and welcome to Parlez with Sensei Shui, episode 16. Today we will be speaking on discovering your purpose. And so, when I say discovering or uncovering your purpose, what I'm referring to as what is it that has you get out of bed in the morning? What is it that has you moving forward in life with some type of drive? If you don't have that drive in life, begin to self reflect and have some sense of purpose to discover that within yourself. Why I stress this is because if you don't set the purpose yourself, then the purpose will be given to you. You see a lot of things on media right now about like, oh yeah, they're making us do this and this with a mask and blah 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 and the sheeple and blah nah nah nah. All right, well, a part of that, I'm not going to go deep into that right now, but a part of that is you have many humans walking around without a sense of purpose. Their sense of purpose is merely to go to the next meal and escape on a Friday to drink and only to live in this cycle, in this merry-go-round of Groundhog Day, doing the same thing every single day, without any forward progression. Much like I like to say, playing a video game. Because if you notice with some video games, especially, I can speak mostly on the fighting games. A lot of them, you're doing the same thing over and over again, but thinking it's changing just because the characters are changing. But we're going about the same means and the same method. So when it comes into discovering your purpose, the importance of this is if you don't define your purpose yourself, your purpose will be given to you in the source of subconsciously through the media, through the Netflix videos, through TikTok, through YouTube, through the music that you listen to. Because I like to say purpose is just like the wind that blows. Depending on if you guide the sail or not, determines on the direction that you go. If you're just merely going down the stream but not rowing your boat's going to end up wherever the stream wants it to go. So if you find yourself going in a place that you're not finding favor, you're not really liking, start to ask yourself some of those more difficult questions to start to find your purpose. But the biggest thing about that is being kind and patient with yourself and not judging, because often the worst critic that exists is yourself to yourself. You might have noticed on some of my profiles, people say some things, and I'm often pretty gentle or kind with them, and then they're confused. Or if someone says something, I'm like, hey, be kind and gentle with yourself. I always say that because the way someone acts out towards you is a reflection on how they act towards themselves, for we are all mirrors of each other. Thus, me wearing an eye on my heart today, because we're just a mirror looking out at others. We're always reacting to what others around us are. They're just simply mirroring another aspect of our consciousness, even the parts of us that we don't like. And for how we either get aggravated by that or if we just let it pass through us determines on a few things of what that says about our emotional maturity, what that says about our sense of self, and what does that say about our place? What do you say about yourself and your place in reality and how you interact with others? So please ask questions. So the biggest thing also that goes with defining and setting your purpose is learning how to define and keep your boundaries. It's very important to learn how to set, define, and keep your boundaries and set expectations of behavior. What I mean by this is defining boundaries is when someone wants to come in into your space, into the DMs, into whatever it is, if you're like, you know what, I'm going to go to sleep at 11 o'clock because when I wake up super late, I'm grumpy. By keeping the boundary to yourself and being honest and holding yourself accountable and then going to sleep at that time. If you say, you know what, I'm not going to hang out with those friends anymore because, I love them. They're really cool and they're kind. But when I hang out with them, I end up falling into these same patterns of whatever it may be. The biggest thing is setting the boundaries when someone's like, hey, man, you want to chill? Or say that guy hits you up that you know is not good for you, or that girl hits you up that you know just wants to take something from you. By being able to set those boundaries and just be like, hey, what are you doing? No, not today. Or just having that power within yourself to not continue to move forward with that by recognizing what is that right in front of you, by setting those boundaries and setting expectations for behavior. One of the best ways to do this is to set it for yourself and say them to yourself. Program yourself subconsciously by saying these things to yourself when you wake up and when you go to sleep. Write down anywhere from 3 to 7 to 11 expectations and boundaries that you want to set for yourself. Like, really, if you're serious about this, get out a piece of paper. And yes, paper, not your phone. Get out a piece of paper and write down what type of boundaries you want to have. When it comes for boundaries, if it comes for people even coming into your room, the types of people that you allow to even talk with you, the types of people you associate yourself with, the type of programming or TV shows that you watch. These are boundaries as well too. When you want to get into more of a mindful place, all mindful means is you're becoming aware of what's going into your mind. So if you find yourself anxious, depressed, a little angry at times, a good place to start to look first is, what are you watching? What are you listening to? Like, really, not just what are you listening to, but I would say look up the lyrics of the songs that you listen to, because sometimes when you look up the lyrics, you'll realize what you're listening to and dancing to. That's when you're dancing like, oh yeah, I'm a savage, ha ha ha. Well, what are you saying? What are you agreeing? You're saying you're ratchet, you're saying you're bougie, you're saying you're nasty, you say you act stupid. Do you want to do that? Like, really ask yourself, do you want to do that in your life? Start to listen and pay attention to the ways that people are being programmed, to the way the TV program, the YouTube program, the TikTok program, the Instagram program, whatever it is, and how that's interacting with your life, and determining of what's going on and if you want to see a different result. And that's why I'm saying setting expectations of behavior and saying boundaries for yourself. Because by setting these expectations of behavior for yourself and defining boundaries, can you then start to be clear on what your purpose is? Because if you have no boundaries and no expectations, how are you going to know where you're going to go? It's just like a garden. If you've ever seen some things in my TikTok, or if you know me personally, I have a garden. I live in the country, and once this started, I started growing my own food. All right. And for that, what did I have to do? I had to set boundaries in my yard. I had to put plots down. I had to put the seeds in the ground and put spacing in apart, with an expectation that when these seeds would grow, that they would stay within these boundaries. I had an expectation that they're going to grow a certain amount, so I couldn't put everything right next to each other. Likewise, in your life, when you're setting boundaries and you're setting expectations for behavior, plant these seeds and you set yourself up to win. When you want to define or discover your purpose, you have to start out with setting and defining your boundaries and the expectations of what you want to allow into your life. Just a heads up, this is actual work. It's not just like, oh, no one touches me, I'm spiritual, I'm so great. Okay, that's what you see maybe when you're scrolling down, but the real work goes into going into your psyche, going into your heart, looking to the traumas of your past and looking at them dead in the face, feeling it and accepting it, looking at in a mirror of reflection to see, okay, what the fuck is it that I'm doing over and over and over and over again that's having me land in the same space over and over and over and over again. And sometimes those answers are very uncomfortable. So it's really important to have these boundaries and expectations, because what does it do? It reminds you of what you're worthy of. Because when you know what you're worthy of, or what you expect, what you know is for you in life, that starts to, like they say, raise your vibration, or like in Sensei Shui talk, really lighten your density, right? Because why do they say, yo, man, that's some heavy stuff, B? All right, what's heavy? Much love. If something's heavy, what does that do? That's dragging something down. If I'm saying raising your vibration, okay, so when I say raising your vibration, I talked about this a while ago, but it's just like if you're in water, right? It's like if you're in water and you want to raise higher to the top, like these little bubbles in the water, right? You want to raise in this aqueous above the water that it is. You want to raise your vibration, being lighter, not being so dense, holding to the bottom. What comes with that? By ensuring that you know what you're worthy of. Because there's certain things I do not allow in my presence. And guess what? Because I set that vibration, I do my meditations, I read my intentions to myself every single time I wake and every single time I go to sleep. The importance of you doing that is when you wake up and when you go to sleep, the first 20 minutes when you wake up, the first 20 minutes when you go to sleep, you're in what they call a theta wave state. In the theta wave state, you're very programmable, and that's when your subconscious can be reprogrammed. That's why it's really important to not look at your phones when you wake up, when you go to sleep. Why do you think you wake up and you get an ad? They're putting it in your subconscious mind. So if you want to start to shift somewhere different, that's why I say take out a piece of paper, write down 3 boundaries you want to set for yourself, write out 3 expectations you want and 3 intentions you have for the next 6 months. Read those to yourself every single day when you wake up. Like really. And the thing is, you see all these things going around about, oh yeah, this is a holographic universe, da 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 da, nothing's real. Okay, so if nothing's real and everything's in your mind and everything's perceived and it flips upside down, that makes manifestation real. All right. So when you start to set the channel of your radio to something a little different, internally, what does that do? That changes the external situation, the external perception of what you have. Because external perception, because even though you perceive and it seems to be outside of you, it's inside of you. Even though we say, oh, I'm perceiving, it's coming into it. Based on that, then you start to change what it is that you experience. You start to change and shift your reality and attract something different. People will literally transition out of your life and other people will just flow into your life once you start to raise your awareness and raise your vibration. By doing this, what is that actually doing? No, it's not having crystals around all the time. It's not just having really cool tapestries. It's not just wearing stuff. It's dealing with your traumas face to face, taking meditation seriously, doing the study for yourself. It's doing some type of energetic qigong practice. If you ask me, the way to protect yourself against 5G is to really build up your spiritual body through different qigong practices. Like if you look up tai chi and qigong practices, and some of them have empty space power, what that is, like, if you've seen Man of Tai Chi, it's like these people, like, like if you saw him, he's Man of Tai Chi, he's doing it, and at the end he like pushes someone, the guy's moving, he doesn't touch him. There's a reality to that, of an understanding where things can't literally come into your bubble, because what's going on is, okay, you have your body in 33 feet around you, or if for those people in metric countries, about 10 meters around you. That's your energetic field. That's what they call the Merkaba. That's what they call the star of Saturn, the star of David, your energy body. There's all these different names for the exact same thing. It gets super confusing. And so with this, I'm just going to call your energy body. All right. Your energy triangle, your energy diamond, your energy star, whatever it is. Within that, by helping get that more dense and helping define that, what that will do is help protect the physical body. Because what are the effects from 5G on the body? It really interferes with oxygen synthesis into the body. So it has to get to the body. The waves have to get to the body in the first place. But if you're really strengthening up your Tai Chi more, your Qigong, any types of things. I practice Egyptian postures of power. I'll be putting out posts on that soon. I'm really getting that so it could be really smooth and transparent. You can look at it and get it. But that's something I've done every day. I've seen the differences on my life. I've seen the things that have been attract during this quarantine. Everything for me has improved drastically because I've kept a positive mindset and continue to move forward. Likewise, can you, by watching and being mindful of the programs that you put into your mind, setting these boundaries and expectations of behavior. And the thing is being aware of these different things, because I noticed this. I was watching SNL for a brief moment with my mom. And what was really interesting was I was noticing how the audience was being programmed through laughter. All right. So watch into these things, because what did they keep repeating? Oh man, I'm all out of cash. They said that over 100 times, subconsciously programming every single person who's watching that to laugh and think that something's funny, when it's like, oh, you're repeating something you don't want. That's why you need to wake up and repeat the things that you want. That's why you Write down 3 intentions, write down 3 expectations, write down 3 boundaries on a piece of paper. Read that to yourself when you wake up and when you go to sleep every single day. It makes a big difference because, like any of these things, when you research your Tai Chi, when you research your Qigong, when you research your meditation, the benefits come with consistency. Consistency is key. Going every single day, doing it on a consistent basis. Just if you're eating, you got to eat every single day. You got to drink water every single day. You know, even if you're fasting or doing that, your body's still eating something else. So I said 3 expectations, 3 boundaries, and then 3 intentions for where you want to move forward. I like to keep it easy, 3, not starting people off too big, starting off really simple. So it's like 3 expectations in your life. So it'd be like, I expect for people to, or say, I expect for myself to be received with kindness, honesty, compassion. All right. I expect for my finances to arrive early and on time. And I expect for myself to be centered and grounded through the chaos. For boundaries, I go to sleep before 11 p.m. every single night. I surround myself with like-minded people that are excited, intuitive, and spiritual and involved in life. And I do not allow for toxic people or people addicted to any types of narcotics to enter into my personal circle of influence. And then intentions. So like I intend for this message and what I speak to help raise the consciousness and awareness of this planet collectively to help us transition into the next phase, into the next great year. All right. I intend to, with my partner, for us together to continue to work on this spiritual partnership and to raise our awareness and vibration and to impact others around the world and on other species and other planets. And then I intend to wake up every single day and feed my spirit first through meditation, qigong, and yoga. Those are my 3 things that I do. Just saying, it works really well for me. I can tell the difference when I don't. For me, it's like my coffee. If I don't wake up, do some yoga and then qigong and then meditate, it feels like I'm off. I really feel out of alignment. Like I really feel like I woke up on the wrong side of the bed when it's just I didn't feed my soul. If you want to hear more about that, I talked about that a few episodes back. Literally, it's called Feeding Your Soul. It's about the importance of developing and feeding your spiritual body. All right. Just like you feed your body and you drink your water, you got to do the same thing for your spirit. You got to do the same thing for your energy body, right? Or how I was saying, like your aura, right? The aura is what you see, but what is that? That's just something that, like, okay, what is making all this stuff move? How's this moving? How's my mouth moving? This is electricity. This is bioelectricity that's making all this move. Every little cell has little bits of electricity. The neurons in your brain are exploding and firing at every single second. With all these trillions of cells, or it's maybe even quintillions of cells firing at the same time. And with all that stuff happening, there is a little bit of interfere. Like I would say, just like when you turn on a light, how it shines a little bit. Same thing, your body does the same thing. People are like, oh, that is a reflected light. Like that's how seeing works, how colors work. Like you're seeing that color, like you see purple because purple is reflected off of that in the background. You see maroon because maroon is reflected off. You see white because it's like reflecting every single color. You see black because it's absorbing every single color. That's kind of how sight works. Just wanted to put that out there. But be aware that growth is a process. It's something about aligning your values with your actions, because it's a thing to read these things, to write this, and to say this to yourself all the time. But it's the other thing to actually take action and do it. So when you say that, hey, I'm going to sleep before 11 o'clock every night, once it's like 10:30 or 10:15, start to pedal back and change the habits that keep you up later, keeping you up to 1 and 2 in the morning. If you say you're going to go to sleep at a certain time, respect that for yourself and set that boundary within your life. If you say you're not going to allow for people who are addicts to enter your life or be in your personal circle, what that means is when you get that text, like if you're anything like me, hey man, you want to come chill, aka you want to come avoid your traumas through smoking this substance and acting like everything's okay and just living in a cloud of haze. Nah, I'm good. Like for real. When I'm talking about that, I'm not talking down on the substance, but just like everything comes in moderation and you have to have intention and respect it, not just something to just like pass the time away and disrespect it. You know, that's truly how I feel about that. But when it comes into the process of growth and setting your values, like you got to continue on it. That's why I say write them down so you can remember it, but also you got to tell yourself this every day because in reality, if you saw last week when I was talking about personas, all right, so a persona, person, right, comes from the Greek word prosonikos, coming from persona. A persona is the mask. Hey, let me do this real quick. It's the mask that the player wears, that the Greek players wear in a play. All right. So when it comes for this and you realize you're changing these, my teacher, he calls them the eyes. All right. In yoga, they call them skamskaras. All right. It's the same thing, right? Or they call them character traits. Whatever. They're all different things. But I like to say the movie Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, besides all the really trippy and disgusting subliminal messages in it, the part about it, about how there's literally like happy, hungry, sleepy, all those people that are like they just have that emotions, or the remake of that Inside Out, how there's these different characters that are these emotions embodied. Likewise, when you start to make these changes in your life, you have to program and listen to what you're putting in, because it's not like the other one goes away. It's still there whispering in your ear. It's still there in the back of your mind. Be like, no man, go do this, go do this. Oh, you're frustrated, come on man, just go hang out with them, just go hang out. Come on man, stay up late, you got it, like TikTok live right now, all right, stay up. But keeping the boundaries to yourself and staying persistent with your actions, reminding yourself every day with the three intentions that you write down, the three expectations you have, and the three boundaries, reminding yourself every day helps build the strength in that, right? It's just like, say, if you're working out and you want to have stronger arms, you don't just like do squats all the time, even though squats do help your arms a little bit. But if you want to help your arms, even though they might be weak, got to get those pull ups in a little bit, even though it might be hard and it's difficult and you want to go back to what was easier. If you want to make changes in your life, you have to stay persistent on those changes to make a pathway. I don't like the R word. It's not a rut, it's a pathway. If you want to walk a new pathway, you have to stay consistent in the path, just like something in the grass. If you have grass in your yard, or if you see where people walk and they walk the same spot all the time, they make a path. How is a path being formed? Just by walking, by going in the same place over and over again. That's how every single river was formed. That's how canyons were formed. That's how patterns are formed in your life. Especially if you're under the age 18, it's like really important for you to start to change these patterns in yourself, because the one difference you see between, they call them successful people, but I'd like to say people who own their time and do what they love, and those who are a slave to the system, the two differences between them is the habits they have on a daily basis, and whether if they define their purpose to themselves or the purpose was given to them. Right. So that's why I encourage you to learn to define your purpose. Otherwise, the purpose will be given to you. All right. We'll let that sit for a little bit. It's very important that you know where you're going, especially within these next few years. There's mass changes coming in these next 10 years. They talk about Age of Aquarius. They talk about, the precession of the equinox. They talk about all these things, but what does it mean? It basically means things are about to change. It's about to go down. Actually, I'm not a Taurus. No, you could just keep guessing. It's kind of like right in front of your face if you think about it. Like if you want to know what the sign is, it's like literally right in front of your face. um, so it's very important that you define and say where you go, because like Palladians and shit. Okay, so for that, thank you for asking a question. So when it gets into that, I should have an entire episode dedicated to star seed stuff, because when it gets into like Palladians and Orions and Arcturians and all that stuff, you see all these things going around. And for me, just to be honest with it, I identify with a lot of it, but you got to be careful when you're just like basically reading another entertainment novel and you're actually not developing your spiritual awareness or meditations. It's another like, it's like, this is really a matrix, y'all. Like, that shit's real, but it's in the way. It's not just, oh yeah, the woman in the red dress and da da da. No, like, how was someone blocked by a host? I have no idea what that means. I didn't do anything. All right. But just like when it comes to that, you got to be aware of these spiritual traps. All right. When you get too revolved into, oh, what planet am I from? What star civilization am I from? And you're just reading and reading and reading. Oh, like, what's my color? Not talking down about astrology, but just looking into your sign and looking into your sign and looking to your sign without doing any type of thing with meditation, without any type of thing of true self reflection, without doing any type of thing of like contemplation or self reflection, instead just taking in these stories. Learn how to navigate that and then create your own story instead of just entertaining yourself off the stories of others, because that's one of the biggest traps in spiritual development. It's falling victim to entertainment, spiritual entertainment, just with these stories of, you see, of people with their astral projections, instead of really putting in the work and the discipline to learn how to do it yourself and to see if they're bullshitting or not. Like, really. Or how about with all these star civilizations, how about learning how to develop yourself and start to have some experience in the dream states yourself? When it comes into all these spiritual phenomena and all this wisdom, how about going through all this stuff's free too? Like, really, the internet's there. Searching up, I'm really a big fan of ancient India because they did their work. Like, going into like reading about these things, doing the study, like downloading the tablets of Gilgamesh and like kind of working through it in bit by bit, not doing everything in a night. But so that way you could really garner and gain your own opinion about what's going on, not just be regurgitating something that someone else said. And often what I see where a lot of this comes from, this maybe lack of purpose, it comes from an inner sense of loneliness. And sometimes, why is it that spiritual people feel lonely? Or they call starseed, or they call light worker, whatever buzzword that people use all the time. At the end of the day, I like to say you're a chosen one. I like to use the word Jedi, right? Like, you're a Jedi, all right? You're a Jedi Knight. But how would you define it, right? But where does it stem from? If you ask me, what it stems from is from being out of connection with the source. Because often you see a lot of people that are attracted to a spiritual path. They're also attracted to any types of drugs. Yes, alcohol is a drug. They're attracted to drugs. They're attracted to other types of addictive behavior, and often very depressed or lonely inside. Yeah, I'll get into that too. But the biggest thing with it is like learning how to connect with spirit yourself through meditation. The meditation I like to teach is very simple. All right, so you start out back straight, posture aligned. You take a nice deep breath in through the nose, long exhale out the mouth. Feel the weight of your shoulders, your cheeks, and your forehead. Nice deep inhale through the nose. Long exhale out the mouth. Feeling weight of the feet, the skin on top of the body. Nice deep inhale into the belly. Nice long exhale. Now what you're going to do right underneath your belly button, you're going to pinch that spot. Just pinch it and hold it. Take a nice deep inhale. And exhale. Let go of that spot. Place your hands on your knees. Palms can be facing downwards. I like to say palms facing downwards, help for cultivation. Focus on that aftertouch and then act and imagine as if you're breathing in, you feel the energy, the chi, the prana, the organ coming into that spot and glowing your body brighter and brighter. It's normal to feel heat build up and a little bit of tingles. Ride the wave. Don't attach to it, just ride it. And you continue to do that. You start from there. See, just in the 1-2 minutes, you could feel a different shift within yourself. The thing is, it's really focusing and working on meditation. I say that's the pillar. That's number one. That's your water. That's your meditation to learn how to feed your soul. When you listen to the repeats or if you listen to any of my music, this is what you do. You do a meditation like that that has an intention of bringing in prana, feeding yourself. Meditation, again, is a type of exercise. All of them are not created equal because they achieve different things. The meditation I like to teach, like there, what that was doing, it's like literally feeding your chakras. All right. So I really only teach 3 chakras. I don't talk about 7. I talk about 3 that cross over to the 3 dantians that are taught in Taoism. So it's like this dantian, the heart, and the mind. Okay. Also, the 3 parts of your body that have neurons. Your gut has neurons, your heart has neurons, and the head brain has neurons. All 3, the intuitive center, the emotional intelligence center, and the logical center. Developing these 3 parts in your body really amplifies your spiritual development because it's like, wait, why are you skipping the 7th or your 5th or, your 3rd or your root? Well, just like everything, it's a pathway. With developing these three main points, the other 4 as well get developed. And those are just the 4 main ones. If you know anything about chakras or nadis, there's like thousands of them. So, because really all a chakra is where your nerves, it's like a highway. It's like an intersectional highway of all your nerves in your body. That's basically what it is. I'm not going to get deep into it. But what you were saying earlier too is Sanskrit and the religions get way closer than your common Christianity and all this. Yes, indeed. And actually, I've started to teach myself Sanskrit because it's important. And how I did that, you could go to the Sanskrit channel on YouTube, or like what I did. I'm cool with the Hare Krishnas, and they gave me it's called the Srimad Bhagavatam, and in there they have the Sanskrit writing and how to read it and write it in the back. So I just like, instead of, and the thing is, what I do when I read these books, I read the writing. I don't read the commentary. I just read the writing from the tens of thousands of years ago when it was first written. I read the writing, I sound it out, and I like really start from the beginning because it's really important. Just like, why have things been lost through Christianity through time? Because this is something you probably noticed this too. Of the Abrahamic religions, Christianity is the only one that they don't teach the people to read it in the original language of which it is written. If you're Jewish, you learn Hebrew. If you're Muslim, you learn Arabic. If you're Christian, they just translate into whatever language they want to tell you is, and there's all these different translations. Instead of actually learning Greek, a little bit of Aramaic or Amharic and Hebrew to actually understand and get a comprehension of the depth of the knowledge that exists. I'm not going to get into reasons for that, but the thing, have you looked into the Anunnaki and the Emerald Tablets? Yes, I've read the Emerald Tablets about 61 times. And with the Anunnaki, because the Anunnaki is really interesting because it also touches, especially on Christianity in the Bible. Because if you really look into it, where is Abraham from? He's from the city of Ur, right? Ur was a capital in Sumeria, and it was a place where they have ziggurats. Ziggurats, or the pyramids that they find that are in Ur or in Iraq and Iran, all right? In between the Tigris and the Euphrates River, all right? The Fertile Crescent, right? And also in the tablets of Gilgamesh that I speak earlier, guess who are the kings? Enoch, Noah, Seth. The people that in like Genesis 3 and 4 that live for hundreds of years that they just brush over like nothing happened, and they're like, hey, it's a flood and everyone's living. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. You said giants came down from the skies and mixed with the daughters of men, and there's like people living for hundreds of years. Like what? Like, yo, 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 why did you just brush over that? Like, what's going on? You gotta chill out. And there's a book. Do I still have it? I know I still have it, but it's not right available to me. But it's called like the Nephilim and the pyramids of something. But it gets into it because it talks about the Nephilim, and that would be the giants. And what how I say it is like the giants. It's like a mixture of like Anunnaki and humans. Because you really get deep into this stuff. There's someone else, I forgot the name of his channel, but he's really really good in going into the Anunnaki and like talking about it with the megaliths and different things like that. But also, I need to find where it is. But within Hinduism, they talk about the Anunnaki, but they call it something different because within Hinduism in the Vedas, I believe it's in the Rig Veda. They talk about how the size of humans has decreased over time. Um, because like you've probably seen this too, where there's Smithsonian cover-ups and different things. And they found giant bones and skulls the sizes of cars and femur bones like 6-7 feet tall that are like human, like the same proportions as ours. Just like when the dinosaurs were around, those are just the sizes of lizards back then because the oxygen levels were higher. There was a lot more food on the planet. So actually, a lizard or a bug could be that size. Now that is not possible because the oxygen levels. That's why humans have shrunk because we don't have the oxygen capacity within our atmosphere in order to grow to that size. But back in the day, it really used to, that's how it used to be. And when you get into I think it's the Rig Veda or the Sama Veda, they talk about how humans decrease over time because as the population expands and there's more people on the earth, we shrink in order to like have the oxygen level palatable. Is just like as planets age, this is a natural progression. There's even a thing where I'm not going to get super deep into it, but they say that the grays are just the humans from the future coming back in time to help us not fuck up. That's another thing. I'm not going to get too deep into that right now. Yeah, but when it gets into the Anunnaki, as you mentioned it, the biggest thing is I'm a firm, I won't even call it a believer, but I accept that humans, like right now, this isn't the only timeline that's existed on the planet. And we were definitely assisted in our evolution. Because at the end of the day, I feel like when they speak of Adam and Eve, yes, it's also a tale for Atom and Eve, but also in the same way, that was the first like transition or genetic experiment of taking like a Homo sapien and then adding through genetic programming, making it a more conscious being. And I would even say through the realms of like psilocybin mushrooms and other things that we're just starting the ability to do now. When you look into designer babies and stuff like that and genetic programming and building this stuff, the same technology we're using now existed thousands of years ago. Because exactly, I believe that we were genetically modified because otherwise they're like, we came from apes. No, we fucking didn't. Like if we came from apes, then that why would they still be here? You know what I mean? Like when you see a plant evolve or change, what it changed from no longer exists anymore. Like it doesn't exist. It evolved, it changed, and it translated and became something new. From that way, it's still like, yeah, you know what? Like you could think we're probably not the most conscious beings on this planet. You know what I mean? Not probably, we're not. There's a bunch of other stuff going on here. Disclosures happening. You're gonna see the aliens right in front of your face, y'all. They could be talking to you. You don't even know it. All right. But the biggest thing about that is that we've been integrated into it. Yeah, there's a lot of flaws within Darwin's theory because a lot of it too is like have I want to see more of the video on the topic. All right, yeah, I'll get into that. But the biggest thing is like with talking about it when we're transitioning or you're like, oh, we came from apes. It's like that's not where humanity came from. Yes, we came from a Homo erectus type of like a that type of like like genus of Homo, right? The Homo genus, because it's Homo sapiens, the genus of Homos, just like canines. It's like Canis femoris, and that's where dogs come from. And it's like Canis carnelius or some shit like that. And that's where wolves go, but they're both Canis. They're both canines, right? So just like Homo, right? We're both of that type of species. This was the one that was selected and the frontal lobe was developed more. When you look into the emerald taps of Thoth, what do they talk about? They talk about how we came among them and they were like beasts and we raised them among that. Because when they first interacted, when they say the Atlanteans first interacted with them, they were little more than beasts and they were taught these things. They were raised up from this. How were they raised up? I believe it was through genetic programming. And why do I say genetic programming? Because that's the way where you see, like, how did all these societies just pop up and then they knew how to write and farm and read within, like, out of nowhere, which should technically be this age? You know, a lot of the things too, you need to realize, like, this isn't a race thing, but this is a thing about when someone wins a war and they change the history, you can't really say that India or Africa or South Asia and all these other places weren't developed or civilized if you really open up to the fact that history's been going on and humans have been near or higher than we were before for at least the past 10,000 years or more. Because it's some things to learn about or like really accept when back when there was the dark ages going on in Europe and they were cutting people open and bleeding them for stuff within, it was called Emexum, by the way. Emexum. It wasn't called Africa until after colonization. Within Emexum and in Asia and in the Americas, they had running water, they had medicine, they had, you know, like a bunch of other things going on that were like didn't exist. And the thing is, they had times, they knew how times worked, they knew their the sessions where it's like, oh yeah, you know, guess what? We have all these planets. Well, if you heard of the Dogon tribe in Africa, they already knew all 9 planets, the orbits, and Sirius A and B, and they knew that there were 2 stars thousands of years before there was even observable planets, and they knew how long the years were and the rotations. So if you're going to say that we come from a primitive man, all right, sure, like let's not. That's why we're repeating some things, because history's been erased to try to make it seem like, oh, we found everything, but in the end of the day, we're just coming back to where we were probably 6,000-7,000 years ago, because things were erased, things were burned, things are not even that, they're hidden, somehow thinking that this is keeping the power out of people's hands. But what this is doing, this is keeping from the human race from progressing forward, which is why everything's coming out now, because this is what we have to do to survive for the next 100 years. That's fucking truth, you know? Like, that's just what has to happen. This knowledge has to come to light for the advancement of the human race and of the species of this planet, not just humanity, but I would say the other people who are also living with us. And I would like to say that, yeah, all right, I'm going to have to be ending this pretty soon. I like to end on high notes because also all my batteries are getting super low. That's why it's getting dark in here. But when it comes into destroying history, some of it was destroyed. And the really good stuff, though, Loki, brother, it's in the Vatican. It's in the Library of the Vatican. So that's where a lot of the good stuff is stored. It's kept away from people. But a lot of other history that was said that was not important was destroyed. It was burned. It was suppressed. And it's very unfortunate. But the biggest thing is it still exists in the mind and the records of the Akash. And the Akashic records, or in the Gaia mind, or whatever you want to call it, it still exists there, because if there's some knowledge you want to garner, you can go into your dream states and ask for it, and it will be given to you. But you got to work to get to that conscious state, to actually be conscious enough in your dream state to realize you're dreaming, and then start to ask the questions. It's not just like, oh yeah, I sleep and I listen to this music and like, nah, do the work, eat the right stuff, you know. Or if you ever use plant medicine, ask the plant medicine and they will show you, like, straight up. That's kind of how it works. Using it with intentions. But it really is work. At the end of the day, it's about work. And to just kind of bring this all up, all together, meditate, write down your intentions, write down your boundaries. And yeah, with the eating part, I could have a full episode on this. And I could do that. Have I ever done DMT? Interesting. So I have, but the experiences I've had in a sober state, and it was kind of cool, but I also didn't do enough to like blast off, if you ask. Um, if anything, the types of meditation, like the meditation I teach, if you do that down here and then you pinch your heart and then you pinch your mind, it will produce DMT in your body and you could taste it. Like if you've done DMT before, you know what it tastes like. So when your brain starts to produce more of it, you could kind of tell when you're starting to get there. But when it comes into the eating part, it's all about a transition. It's not about a shift. It's about a transition. Into like if you're trying to get into more of a plant-based diet, the thing I really like to say is doing plant-based one like at least one every other day. So doing it every other day and really like looking up recipes because now we have the internet, looking up recipes, discovering other things. Yes, I was talking about discovering your purpose, and everything with that comes for not judging yourself, keeping your boundaries, setting your expectations, and reminding yourself what you're worthy of, and being aligned through the process. And even with all these things, this goes with eating too. That means when you start to eat better, when you start to change your life, not judging others that are still living in this way. Like you see a lot of people who are plant based and being like, "Oh, you got to eat this. You're eating this. You're killing all the animals." And nah. Like, dude, like, come on. Like, you know the shirt you wear when you wash it, microplastics into the ocean and kill fish. Like, it's a systematic problem. Like, we got to work on this together. It's a systematic issue. So, with all these things and keeping your boundaries and expectations, so especially when you're changing the way you eat, this is a whole episode by itself, but realize that within the human body, you are a guest. There is one human cell for every 10 foreign cells in your body. The urges you have and the cravings are not you, it's the bacteria that are in your gut that are telling your brain to eat it so that way it can repopulate. So that's why you have these intense cravings if you're kicking meat or fish or especially cheese. And cheese has casein in it, and casein produces the same types of chemicals that heroin does for addiction. So really knowing these things and being kind with yourself and being gentle with the shift is the way to do it. And the biggest thing is keeping your boundaries. When you're hungry and you're tired and you come home, like I did today, because I'm getting away from eating bottom feeders, like shrimp and stuff like that, shrimp and crab. I'm moving away from eating that stuff and like transitioning away from like fish all in general. I'm plant based most of the time, but I still need to find a omega-3 source that works really well for my body that's plant based because I've gone plant based before and I was nutrient deficient and I found I needed to eat fish like about once a month and I was fine. But I'm still getting away from eating like bottom feeders because I notice how it affects my body and my skin and stuff like that. But when I'm getting home and like I'm tired and stuff like that, yeah, it tastes really good though, right? It's like today, I got home from work and everything, being at the office and just creating these systems of education. And then I smell this food coming home and I'm like, that smells good. But it's like, I know what I said to myself and I know how it affects my body. Because the biggest thing, what will get you to change is once you know how it affects you. Once you're tired of the effects, and like to be just straight up, why I stopped eating dairy because it really hurt when I had to take a shit. Like it really hurt and it wasn't fun. And enough the times I realized that it was like it's not worth the ice cream. It's not worth me eating the cheese. It's not worth me like let me read the ingredients on this stuff because my body is not responding good to this like at all. This hurts. I'm in pain. I shouldn't do this. And it's just like with eating. It's just like with your life and the people you surround yourself with. It's just like with the boundaries in your life. It's just like discovering your purpose. It's being persistence. Yeah. When you're at the point when it's the only food in your home and you're, say, of a younger age, really the only thing you could do is start to, man, this is a difficult question. I'm going to have an entire thing about food because when you're not in control of your own food source, there's only so much you could do, you know? Um, I'll get back to you on that. One thing I would say though is like find you a hustle online and start to buy your own food. But again, things are that's what I say. I'm in my 20s, so it's like okay, I'm just gonna do my thing. But when it comes for it, if you got pizza, like take the things off that you don't want to eat, and then through time, like have it and then have these discussions. I would say maybe watch Game Changers with her, watch Cowspiracy, different things like that. So that way we could start to become conscious and aware of what's in our food. And then sometimes watching this with our parents, it will see it's not just a hippie thing. It's because there's a lot of um, bacteria, there's a lot of antibiotics, there's a lot of hormones in our food that actually make us sick. It's not what it used to be. And so if we're experiencing a lot of this discontent and this struggle, a lot of it's because what we're eating. It's not just the energies from oh, energy is not created and destroyed. Nah, it's like straight up stuff in the food makes you sick, and they don't put it. If you like live in Australia or in Europe or in other places, they literally do not let some of these foods in their like in their country. But if you're in the United States, they let them put it in your food. So be conscious of that stuff. That's a big reason why I stopped eating a lot of this stuff. It's not like, oh, the animals. It's like that's a part of it, but another part of it is because this stuff's fucking poison. Like it literally is. Like look it up. Like straight up, look it up. Look up azocarbamide. Don't eat white bread. AZOCARBINDIMIDE. Azocarbamide. Like that stuff straight up like clogs up your gut and like reduces your iron. It's like and food dyes. Look up Yellow Lake 6 effects on the body. The stuff that makes like Cheetos and Doritos red and Mountain Dew green, like that stuff. Look that stuff up. That's what gives kids ADHD and all these attention disorders and all this like mood swings and why people are depressed. It's the food coloring because it comes from oil and a bunch of other stuff. All right, my phone's about to die. I'm going to close out. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Grateful for your participation. Tune in. So I do these every other week. I do these every 2 weeks to keep them high quality. But this has been Parlez with Sensei Shui, episode 16. Grateful and thank you for joining. Please share with your friends. If you're on YouTube, check it out, like and subscribe. And if you're listening to this again, the repeat will be coming. Have a nice day and namaste. Ooh, wow. Thank you. Yep. Have a nice, beautiful day. That was amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for your support. Really, for real. Thank you for your support and thank you for watching. Thank you. Like for real. Like I couldn't do this or sustain this without you. Really helped me like push through that last part and have relevant topics. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mikey.